Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to continue reading with Sri Isopanishad. I think we are on mantra 9, right? We were reading the purport of mantra 9. So we will continue with that. Yeah, I think we are here. So as stated, so you prefer me to read, and is that, Meena? That's what you suggested last time?
That's what I felt. That's why I said.
Okay, yeah, so I can do that. As stated in mantra 1, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. So when we just began the Isopanishad, we read the mantra 1. And in mantra 1, we heard that everything belongs to God. You know, whatever we see around us belongs to God. We may think it belongs to us. We may think it's meant for our enjoyment. So mantra 1 taught us it belongs to God, and take as much as is needed. You know, whatever we need for our maintenance, we take that. Understanding it's given to us by God. Understanding it belongs to God. We don't deprive ourselves. Whatever we need food, we need shelter, we need clothing, whatever we need, we take it. Understanding it's given by God. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this God consciousness in the forgetful living being. And this same purpose is presented in various ways in the different scriptures of the world for understanding of a foolish mankind. So all the scriptures are trying to awaken us to God consciousness. We have forgotten that we have a relationship with God, and the scriptures are there given by God. It's the word of God. The Vedas are word of God, and they are presented to us to remind us that we have a loving, intimate relationship with God, to wake us up. You know, we want to have knowledge of a particular thing. Say we want to learn how to cook nice food. We pick up a recipe book. We want to learn about computer. We'll take a tutorial about how to use the computer better. We want to learn about, it could be anything, arts. So we will take up that course. So if we want to understand who we are, then we need to refer to Bhagavad Gita, to Srimad Bhagavatam, to the scriptures. And they are telling us that we have a loving relationship with God. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religions is to bring one back to Godhead. You know, it's a religion. It doesn't mean that to divide us. No, in fact, it's just to bring us to love God. That's it. That's the purpose of religion. To help us to understand our relationship with God. But the Vedvada people, instead of realizing that the purpose of Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage in the first place, are the ultimate end of the Vedas. So what's the Vedvada people? We are trying to understand. The Vedas, a big portion of the Vedas deals with karma kand. What is karma kand? Doing some kind of ritual, some kind of pious activities. Why? To go to the heavenly planets. Why? So one can enjoy more. So one may get sidetracked and think that this is the purpose of the Vedas. No, but the purpose of the Vedas is gradual elevation, to engage one in pious activities, to engage one in, sacrifices, rituals, so that one's consciousness gets evolved. One gets higher consciousness, one can try to understand about God. So one may think, oh, that the purpose of the Vedas is just to go to the heavenly planets. But no, the essence of the Vedas is to revive our relationship with God. Krishna says in 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vedesya sarver aham eva vedya. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. So all the Vedas are there for us to understand God, understand our relationship with God. So then the Vedvantara, such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Vedvantaratas give their own explanations of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers, acharyas. So the teachers, the acharyas, the pure devotees, they are teaching us about God and how to love God. But some may misunderstand that the Vedas are only all about doing this, some kind of rituals or some kind of pious activity just to go to the heavenly planets. It's a process. Okay, doing the rituals, doing pious activity, these are good things to bring us to a higher cause, which is to understand God, to bring us to love of God. So thinking, for example, like thinking somebody has passed high school and one thinks that's the end of education. No, but then from high school, one has to go on to go to college, no? Understanding that, I have to get a graduate degree, then that education is finished. So we need to understand then, who are we hearing from and what are we hearing from them? So they also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Vedvatratas are especially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit words Vidyayam Rata. Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge. Vidya and Rata means those engaged. Vidyadhyam Rata thus means those engaged in the study of the Vedas. The so-called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the acharyas. You see, we can't pick up a textbook, say I want to become a doctor. I can't just go buy a textbook of medicine and try to study it by myself. And expect that I'm going to become a professional doctor and I'll be able to cure and treat people and people are actually going to come to me. It's not going to happen. I have to enroll myself into a medical school. I have to study under the teachers who can guide me. How can I understand what's written in the textbook? So the teachers are needed. So similarly, the Vedas, we have to hear it from the teachers, the devotees, to be able to understand the purpose of the Vedas. We need to hear from the devotees. Such Vedvaratas search out meanings in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books. I'm sorry, that can be understood only through the chain of disciplic succession. So how should we hear the scriptures? From whom should we hear the scriptures? From the devotees who are coming in the disciplic succession, who are coming in the parampara. There are 4 authorized Vaishnav sampradayas. Authorized. 4 authorized sampradayas. One is the Sri Sampradaya coming from Lakshmi Devi. They are the most famous, the most biggest of the sampradayas. And then there is a sampradaya called Rudra Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva. Sampradaya coming from the 4 Kumaras. That's called the Kumar Sampradaya. And there is a sampradaya coming from Lord Brahma. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We are coming in that sampradaya. We belong to that sampradaya. Srila Prabhupada is coming from that sampradaya. So we need to hear the knowledge of the Vedas from either of these four sampradayas to be able to actually understand the essence of the Vedas, to understand the real meanings of the Vedas. Why? Because the original speaker of the Vedas is God. So God gave the knowledge to Lord Brahma, became Brahma Sampradaya. God gave knowledge to Lakshmi Devi, became Sri Sampradaya. God gave knowledge to four Kumaras, became Kumar Sampradaya. God gave knowledge to Lord Shiva, became Rudra Sampradaya. Not the ordinary followers of Lord Shiva, but those who are actually following Lord Shiva's teachings. Lord Shiva is the best devotee of Krishna. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, he's called. He's called the best Vaishnava. Why? He's the best devotee of Lord Krishna. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. So those who are actually following in the teachings of Lord Shiva, not asking him, not thinking that he is the Supreme Lord, but understanding that he's a devotee of the Supreme Lord. They are coming in the Rudra Sampradaya. Are there any questions or comments till now?
No. All good. All good.
Okay, so reading on. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. So just as we said that we want to become expert in any field, so we have to go to the teacher. We can't just take a textbook and think that I'm going to become an expert just by reading the textbook. We have to go to the teacher, study under the teacher. Then we will be able to understand the subject matter. It could be for any field. It could be flying, for example. Somebody wants to learn to fly. Can't just take a textbook. We need to go to the teacher. Or medicine, as we say, lawyer, or anything. So that is the direction. So similarly, for spiritual subject matters, we need to approach the devotee, a pure devotee. The bona fide spiritual master is the pure devotee of the Lord, because he can explain to us what is the purpose of the Vedas. He can explain to us what's the message of Bhagavad Gita. That is the direction of the Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12. So the Mundaka Upanishad is telling us that you want to understand spiritual matters, you hear from the pure devotee. These Vedvatarat people, however, have their own acharyas who are not in the chain of transcendental succession. Thus, they progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. So someone may make up their own acharya. But the acharya has to come, as we said, in either of the four Vaishnava sampradayas, the four bona fide, authorized sampradayas, one who has been hearing the knowledge from the authority. Like we are hearing from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada heard it from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur heard it from his spiritual master, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who heard it from his spiritual master, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Going on like this, we come to Lord Chaitanya. Going up higher, we come to Madhvacharya, Vyasadev, Narad Muni, Brahma, and God, Krishna. So the original speaker of this message is Krishna, and we are hearing it in the disciplic succession. So we need to understand, who are we hearing the spiritual message from? Need to hear from the disciplic succession to make sure that we are hearing the message intact, the real knowledge, not knowledge which has been misinterpreted by anyone. Misinterpreting Vedic knowledge is a great disservice, because then we are misguiding someone from the real purpose of life. Human life is very rare. Human life, we're getting after 8 million species. Total, there's 8,400,000 species of life, out of which only 400,000 are human beings. And we are getting this rare human birth. And the purpose of the human birth is to understand our relationship with God. So if we misdirect someone into the purpose of human life, that is the greatest disservice that we can do. And it's very dangerous. So we ourselves should also understand we should understand the real knowledge and give others the real knowledge. Because if we ourselves are ignorant, then we are going to spread ignorance. So we get the knowledge, we spread the knowledge. So hear from the authority. The Mayaya Pratagyan class of men are self-made gods. Such men think that they themselves are God and that there is no need of worshipping any other god. So we have to understand. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that we are Mamayvamsa Jiva Loke. Krishna says we are all parts and parcels of God. The Vedas are all telling us that we are part and parcel of God. We are not God, but part and parcel. So there is some class of men who are proclaiming that there's no need of worshipping any other god. They will agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but they will never worship the personality of Godhead. Such men, unable to recognize their own foolishness, never consider how it is that God can be entrapped by Maya, his own illusory energy. So we have to understand, if we are thinking in this way, we have to try and understand, how could I be God, If I would be God, how could I be in a material body? How could I be controlled by the modes of nature? God is the maker. He is the creator of the material world. He is the owner of the material energy. He's the one who owns the material modes. So how can God come under the control of the modes? If we logically try to understand. Like how could the controller of someone become under the control? God is the controller of Maya. But if we say that God is controlled by Maya, then we are saying that Maya has become God. So we have to try to understand what is the logic? What am I thinking? So if God were ever entrapped by Maya, Maya would be more powerful than God. Such men say that God is all powerful, but they do not consider that if he is all powerful, there is no possibility of his being overpowered by Maya, isn't it? If we say God is all powerful, then how can God come under Maya? How can we think that, right now God is come under Maya, he's in a material body, but after he gets the knowledge, he gets liberated, he's going to become God again. But then that is trying to say that Maya is greater than God. But we are saying God is the most powerful. So there is a contradiction there. So we have to analyze things with proper logic. So these self-made gods cannot answer all these questions very clearly. They are simply satisfied to have become God themselves. So we have to understand our position and God's position. God is the all-powerful. We are part and parcel of God. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that the living entities are my parts and parcels. All the Vedas are telling us we are part and parcel of God. We have a loving relationship with God. We are not God ourselves, but we are part of God, a part and parcel of God. Is that all right?
Yes.
And the aim of this human life is for us to remember, to revive our relationship with God. And in the Vedas, the method to revive our loving relationship with God is given in this Kali Yuga is Harinam Sankirtan. Kali Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan. The Vedas, they say, the Shastras say, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. Kalau nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatir anyatha. In this age of Kali, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only way for God realization is chanting the holy name of Hari. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. So we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. It is a Vedic mantra. We chant to revive our God consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then if there are no comments or questions to mantra 9, we will go on to mantra 10 today.
Yes, we can go to it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyad eva hurvityaya.
Anyad eva
Yes, please.
hurvidyayan.
Anyad ahur avidyaya.
Anyad ahur avidyaya.
Iti shushruma dhiranam.
Iti shushrumadhiranam.
Enastad vichakshire.
Enastad vichachakshire.
The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. So there is a difference between knowledge and nations. And what are we cultivating? What are we going towards? The result will be different. As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, 13.8 to 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. So this mantra is trying to tell us that culture knowledge. So then Prabhupada is explaining to us what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita about how to cultivate knowledge. Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text 88 to 12. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. And so these things we have to cultivate. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. One should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. One should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization. And one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service, and ask relevant questions. So to just speak a little bit about the first few points, Prabhupada was once asked that how will you recognize a devotee? So people thought that Prabhupada is going to say that, oh, he'll be wearing devotee clothes, or he'll wear a tilak, or he may have, neck beads, or he may have a shikha. People thought Prabhupada is going to say that. But Prabhupada said he will be a perfect gentleman. So a pure devotee is a perfect gentleman. He knows how to act. He knows how to give proper respect to others. Lord Chaitanya, in his Shikshastaka, the 8 prayers left behind by Lord Chaitanya, the third prayer, the third verse, Trinad api sunichena, taror api sahisnuna, amanena manadena, kirtanya sadahari. He says one should become more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, giving all respect to others, not expecting any for ourselves. So he's telling us these 4 things. And he says in this such a frame of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So we need to cultivate tolerance, humility, offering respect to others, not expecting any for ourselves. Avoiding duplicity, becoming simple. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master. We just heard in the previous verse. taking guidance of the pure devotee. So it's our responsibility who we are hearing from, who are we taking guidance from. Like we want to study ourselves, or we want to send our children to university. We do the research work. We try to find the best university for them. We say, no, we want to see which is a good university. It's recognized by this board. What are the future prospects? What is my child going to gain out of it? But when it comes to spiritual matters, we are like, oh, I'm going to hear from anyone and everyone. No, we need to search who is a bona fide spiritual master. That's our own responsibility. Here in the disciplic succession, and the spiritual master, the pure devotee, is one who knows the science of Krishna, who can get him out of this material world, give him liberation, bring him to the point of the bringing him to the platform of the soul, spiritual platform. And then when one finds such a spiritual master, then one must render service to him, ask him relevant questions. So that is our responsibility. Submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service, and ask relevant questions. Now, in order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the scriptures. So following the regulative principles, following the, like the scriptures, they tell us, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. So refraining from the sinful activities. And then following in the principles of Bhakti Yoga. What are the principles of Bhakti Yoga? Hearing and chanting. Hearing from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we need to do this if we want to get self-realization. Then eighth, one must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. So we need to hear the scriptures, study the scriptures, and understand the scriptures. Hear the scriptures from the bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada has given us such wonderful books. We are reading Sri Isopanishad. He's given us Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion. And all the books are in languages which we are able to understand. One should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. So doing whatever is favorable for Krishna consciousness and refraining, abstaining from things which are gonna make us forget God, gonna make us forget Krishna. So one should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. Self-satisfied. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. This is what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. What we are thinking this body, I am this body. We identify ourselves with this body that we are in. But Krishna is telling us in Bhagavad Gita, hey, you're not the body, you're the soul. And whoever is related to the body, we think they are ours. So here, a culture of knowledge to understand, oh, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, I'm part and parcel of Krishna. And everyone else who is related to me is also a part and parcel of Krishna. So, of course, not easy, but the more we hear, the more we practice. It needs practice. It's not easy to come to this platform, but it's required to. One should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. So the four miseries. What are the four miseries of material life? It's mentioned here. Birth, death, old age, and disease. These are the miseries. We may think, oh, the miseries are, we may, each of us have our own problems going on. But these are really the problems each of us face: birth, death, old age, and disease. So till the time we have a material body, we will be faced with such problems. Material body could be here on this earthly planet, or it could be in the heavenly planets. One may think, if I will go to the heavenly planet, I will not have any birth, death, old age, disease. No. Heavenly planets also, the demigods also have material bodies. So they are also subjected to such things. So anywhere we go in the material world, till the time we have a material body, we will be faced with such things. So what should we do? We need to understand that we are not the body, we are spirit soul. So that's why Prabhupada is putting the best course is to find out the means by which one may regain this spiritual identity. To understand, oh, I'm not the body, I'm a spirit soul. I'm part and parcel of God. I have a relationship with God. I have a duty to serve God. And the duty to serve God, that is devotional service, begins by hearing from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. One should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. So appropriate attachment is important, is necessary, but not overly, because understanding that each of us is a part and parcel of God. And in fact, when we get too attached, we may create problems also. We may overthink things, we may try to over control, and then it may lead to so many of these relationship issues. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. So, our mind tells us that this is a good situation. You can enjoy in this situation. And so, we want this situation. And then our mind tells us, no, the other situation, that's not good. Why? Because I'm not going to enjoy. So, we have these feelings. Oh, I'm going to be happy when I do this. And if it's not in this way, I'm going to be unhappy. So the mind keeps making us do such things. It keeps making us jump from one situation to another, trying to avoid the distress and seek the pleasure. Because we all want to be happy. None of us like to be sad. But the mind tells us, oh, this situation is a very bad situation. You need to get out. You need to get out. And the mind will tell us, oh, this is a good situation, so it should not change. It should not change. So, okay, situations will come. Situations will come. We will be happy. We will be distressed. But we should not be disturbed by them. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, tolerate happiness and tolerate the distress also. Because they both will come. So we just need to kind of have a balance. It's not easy again. We may find at one point we have a balance. Again, that balance might be broken. And then again, we have to re-find a new balance. So it's a constant struggle going on. But we are required to do such things. One should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. So, what's said, culture of knowledge. We are hearing now what is knowledge. So, becoming a devotee of God, a pure devotee of God, Sri Krishna. Serve him with rapt attention. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhava madbhakto. Engage your mind in always thinking of me. That we are required to do that. Unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. So how can we come to that stage? By association with devotees. We want to become good at something. We want to become good at math. We associate with people who are good at math. We want to become good at cooking. We associate people who are good at cooking. Somebody is good at computers. We associate with people who are good at computers. Similarly, we want to become a pure devotee. We associate with the pure devotees. So one should develop a liking for residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere, favorable for spiritual culture. And one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. It's kind of almost impossible in nowadays world because the cities are crowded. But the point is, what's the point? Is to cultivate our spiritual knowledge. A place where we can hear and chant about God, hear from the scriptures, chant the holy name. That's the point. Not that on a whim we need to try and change our residence. No, but the point is to hear and chant. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. So, we put so much stress on material knowledge. We have great scientists. We have done great material advancement. And it's good. It's needed for us in nowadays world. But side by side, we also need to understand that we are not the body. We are spirit souls. So we also need spiritual knowledge. Material knowledge is great because it helps us to live in the material world. But our real identity is we are spirit souls. So we need spiritual knowledge. We need to cultivate spiritual knowledge. We need to learn the spiritual knowledge. And the material knowledge which we learn, it's going to be finished when we die. When we give up this body, all that material knowledge will be finished. From the next life, if we are born again we see the babies when they are 4 5 years old, again the schooling starts. Now even maybe earlier, at an earlier age. Again have to learn ABC, 1 2 3, sentences, everything. But the spiritual knowledge, how much ever one has advanced in spiritual knowledge, one begins from that point on in the next life. One does not need to do all the work again. It's permanent because we are spirit souls. Spiritual knowledge is also eternal. Soul is eternal. Spiritual knowledge is eternal. So it's never lost. So how much ever spiritual knowledge we gain in this life, in the next life, we start from that point. No need to study. No need to again cultivate the entire thing again. If one has gotten 1% of Krishna consciousness, one will begin from that 1%. No need again to start from zero. But in material knowledge, we again start from zero. Like one may be a PhD in this life, but in the next life, again, one has to learn to start ABC, 1 2 3, learn to make sentences, everything. One cannot just begin from the point of the PhD. But in spiritual life, you can. And that's what happens. So Prabhupada goes on to say these 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Gradual process. So spiritual knowledge is also cultivated gradually. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that this is knowledge. Apart from all this is ignorance. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great Acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy, and by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. Now one may get offended. Oh, how come such a word is used? What do you mean? I took so much time and energy to cultivate. I studied so hard. I put in so much effort, so much money. How can the scriptures call me an ass? What is happening? But well, like how sometimes a father, mother may shout at us. Why? Not to condemn us, not to belittle us, but to just wake us up. When we are doing some mischief, we may scold a child. Why? Just to get their attention, that listen to me what I'm saying. Otherwise the child is not listening, just going on in his own, doing his own thing, what he wants. So we want the child to listen. So we may kind of use some words to shake them up. So this is like kind of a shake-up for us. Okay, yeah, material knowledge. Okay, yes, but what about the spiritual knowledge? Because we are, after all, spirit souls. So we need that. The same principle is found here in Sri Isopanishad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic, but unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. So it doesn't mean that we go around telling people, oh, no, don't study, don't go to school, don't go to university, don't cultivate material knowledge. No, it's needed. It's needed. We are in a material body. So we need to have material knowledge too. But thinking that that is all in all, that is where the fault lies. So understanding the use of material knowledge and side by side cultivating knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Understanding I'm spirit soul. So yes, I need the material knowledge to get by in this material world, because after all, I'm living in the material world. But I am not the body, I'm the spirit soul. So let me understand the spiritual knowledge. Let me try to understand what is Bhagavad Gita telling me. This is what we are trying to understand here. Are there any questions or comments?
No, all good.
Yeah. So then we'll stop
Yeah.
here for today. We'll continue with
Shilpa, I
next
don't
group.
know. While we were reading, there is one notification coming, like the host is putting you in mute, but you were talking, you were not doing it. So I have to unmute so many times
I
my
know,
voice.
because
no?
what was happening, there was some echo coming, right? So
Okay.
I was yeah, there was an echo. So I was trying to mute you.
Okay, I thought something may be happening automatically with the system.
No. So it was just because of
Okay.
that echo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Shilpa,
everyone.
I don't have Sonal and Roshni's number, so I want to give the message here. Sonal, I have kept Ganpati in the house, so please, all of you are invited. Please do come and have darshan. Shilpa, including you, any day till Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
Nina,
you.
you
Thank you,
also
Ellen.
please.
Yeah.
Thank you for this kind invitation. We'll surely visit. at the
Thanks,
distance.
Meena.
Yeah, please do come. I'll send Shilpa, if you can send me the contact of Sonal and
Sure, I can.
others here, because I don't know. They have
Sure.
different names in the screen.
I'll send you their contacts. Oh,
Yeah, please. Thank you.
thank you. Shila Prabhupada.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.